بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين أشهد لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, all praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds, the beneficent and merciful, Master of the Day of Judgment. Thee do we worship and thine aid do we seek. Show us the straight path. Path upon those who God restore thy mercy. Not the path of those who earn thy anger, nor of those who go astray. Ameen. Inshallah, with the opportunity given, I'd like to speak to you. This is a talk session, inshallah, that I will be starting called The Brother's Corner. Basically, just to speak about the deen and things going on in Islamic communities. Seeing as though that there is no congregating going on, sometimes this can be very hard on us, seeing as though we're used to being unified in just the sheer love of Allah and the fellowship of the believers weigh heavy on us because we're not together. Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is recorded and said that a believer is like a brick wall to another believer. One supports the other. So even in these times when we're not able to come together to unify, to show the nur of Allah that each and every one of us hold together, we still have the opportunity to reach out to one another and just say to you, I love you. I love you for the sake of Allah. I love you because of your deen. I love you because you love doing what is right. I love you because you're my brother and my sister. So inshallah, with saying that, last week I spoke with all of you with regards to the coronavirus. And in the response that I received was good. But yet I had some responses received that people missed the point. For some reason, they perhaps thought that I was trying to convert them to Islam. So let me be clear with something right now before I begin anything else. I am not a converter. I don't convert people to Islam. There's no way possible for someone to convert you to Islam. Islam has the belief that all are Muslims, but all are not practicing Muslims. So all of God's creation is considered to be one that submits to do the will of God. You have no choice in matters when it comes to that. So that in itself, in the Arabic term, would regard you as being Muslim. But as far as being a part of Islam, then that takes different actions. So when I speak to you, in no way am I saying that I'm trying to convert you. I'm only a conveyor of what is truth. And I'm hoping that you will receive that truth. If you find that there is something in it that you don't want to agree with, or then message me. And I'll see it and try my best to address it as it come up. But I don't want anyone, because I'm speaking to Christians, I'm speaking to Jews, I'm speaking to Muslims, I'm speaking to those who don't consider themselves to have a way of faith. But I'm just giving what is righteous. So I'm not trying to convert you. I'm not a converter. God is the best planners. He makes those who believe, not me. I convey what I receive or what I'm reading or what I know, and then you do with it as you choose. So today, I want to apologize to anyone that felt as though that I was pressing upon them my belief. In no way am I doing it. There's no compulsion in Islam. We can't force anyone in Islam to do anything, outside of Islam, to do anything that Islam is regarded to have done. But as for you that are Muslims, compulsion does not apply to you. You are held accountable for all of your actions. You are held accountable for all the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all of his sunnah, all of the Quran, the way of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. you have no getaway from it. So when it comes to compulsion, that does not apply to you as a believer. But as to those who disbelieve, that applies to you, because we cannot force you to be Muslim. So in no way am I trying to convert you, but I am going to tell the truth, and I'm not going to bite my tongue in doing so. That's just who I am. I have to look to my God for what I say, because I tell you something that's incorrect, and then you practice that, then I'm held accountable for that. And so therefore I try to be careful with my tongue and say only that in which I know and not what I don't know. But today I want to speak about the community of the believers. Just a few pointers, inshallah, if God so will, I'd like to speak about. And one in particular is the unification of believers around the world. The segregation of Muslims around the world. I can recall a time in raising up in the deen when the unity of the believers was the first and foremost. We stacked upon the Quran when it says your real friends are no less than Allah, His messenger, the fellowship of believers, Surah Ayat 55. Read that. If we all draw back to that, then we'll find out what is the unity of believers and what we are supposed to be doing. So today, I'm reflecting on a time in which, when I was being raised up in deen, how the community of Muslims were so unified. I mean, it was so unified that even though there were different communities, we all looked after one another. We were there for one another with regards to the deen, the assistance. If one needed something, if a Muslim needed, we were there. And this is something that we have gotten far, far away from. So today, how do we reach out to one another? Regardless, how do we reach out to one another and get back to that unification of believers? How do we reach out to one another and get back to that oneness of what Islam is all about? This is a single faith, a single way of life, a single community, a single nation of believers. So in that, the unity of us all is one. So my question becomes, how do we get back to that? Because we have been distracted by all sorts of things that actually has no place in what we do. So today I go into a store and I see Muslims, and I will greet Muslims in a store, on a street. And in return, I receive no greeting. I receive a look that gives me the impression that one either doesn't see me, or don't want to see me, or don't accept me as being a Muslim. And that in itself is very hurting to anybody that's striving to do what is right. And I'm sure that you perhaps have received such incidents as well. What do we do about that? Why is it like that today? Why are we finding ourselves segregated apart from one another? Why are we finding ourselves the lack of care and concern for one another? It's no coincidence that everyone know that in my time of struggling, I served some time. And I must say that while doing so, the time that I did serve for what my wrongdoings, and may Allah forgive me, and may the victims of whom I did wrong to forgive me. In time, we find out that the unity that is well within inside the Department of Corrections with regards to brotherhoods is very, very strong. It resembles the unity that was once in society at my youth. But when you come home, you look forward to seeing that unity. We long to be around those who will continue to give us what it is that we've been striving for many, many years. But when you come outside, it is a wake-up. It is a wake-up. Why? Because no one is actually paying attention to one another. We are segregated. You have this group of Muslims over here, and we're all in the same buildings. This group of Muslims over here, and this group of Africans over here, the Palestinians over here, the African Americans over here, the Indies over here. You have all these different ethnicity groups, yet they all consider to be Muslims and following the way of Allah, the way of Islam. But yet the unity between us all seems to be stagnant. There's a wall there, yet the wall can be seen through, but there is no way of communicating or touching one another. There's no way of unifying with that. And I'm wondering, why is that? And what is that we could do to change that? What is it that we could do to change that? Unity among the believers is a must. We cannot succeed without being unified. And we cannot promulgate this deen without resembling that of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may peace and blessings be upon him, or the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How do we get back to that form of unification? How do we get back to understanding that this deen and its success in this deen with regards to us as human beings is through our connection to one another? How do you learn about this deen without that connection? How do you understand the love of Allah and the oneness of Allah without that connection? We are the lighthouse of our society. We must do what is right. We must resemble that of one who's patient and humble. People are looking for leadership. And leadership can't be found in our society if we're following the whims of society. There's only but one leader to us all in humanity. And that is the one who has created us. So how do we get back to that oneness? How do we get back to that obedience? Set up comments. I would love to hear what it is that you will have to say about this. How do we get back to that? How do we find in our hearts the love that we're supposed to have for one another? How? We are told that believers to one another are a family. How do we get back to family? It is a sad case when we look around and see how segregated that we all are. That's a sad case. Now, some may disagree, but that's okay. It's okay to disagree. But if you really look at our things that are going on today, then how could we? A lot of our brothers and our sisters are straying, don't have the proper guidance. A lot of our brothers and sisters are practicing, yet don't understand what's being practiced. How do we get back to giving proper guidance? All of our sheikhs, all of our imams, all of our alims, all of you. It comes a time when we need teachers. We need proper guidance, not bickering and fighting amongst one another with regards to sex. Allah tells us in the Quran, be not divided amongst yourselves into sects. He gave us Islam as our way of life. He gives us as being Muslims as who we are. Now, I don't want for you as that are not consider yourselves to be Muslims, that are Christians and Jews, to be offended by me using the term of Muslim. This is an Arabic term that means one who submits to do the will of God. If that's something you do, then that applies to you. Islam means one who submits to do the total will of God. English. So if that's something you're doing, then that's what it is. That's all it is. So how do we get back to understanding that our duties in this life is to submit to do the total will of God? It's to submit to do the will of God. Not to push things on people, but just to be there, just to mention things, to bring up the ideal of what we should be doing or how we could do it, conversational-wise, not to offend no one, not to put down someone's belief, not to do any of that, but to work with one another, to see how we can get back to that oneness. How can we love each other and not find ourselves in a state of divide and conquer? We are in a state of divide and conquer. What I have is better than what you have. What you have is better than what I have. Come on now. What God have is better than what all have. So why don't we try something new? Do what you never did to get what you never got. trying to promulgate what is righteous in a way that it is righteous and not in a way to try to convert somebody to something. Righteous is righteous. If it got to do with God, it's righteousness. So why and when can we begin to do that again? Instead of talking about what someone over here is doing and not doing, and someone over here is doing and not doing. What are the commonalities that we're doing? What are the things that bring us together up under the rims of righteousness? What are those things? These are the questions for all of us. So, again, I sit here with you, trying to continue to do what is right. You're welcome, brother. May Allah reward you and continue to keep you safe. Continue to do what you're doing. You are a part of this righteousness movement. You are a part of this brother's corner. Brother Antonisha Grant, Get Bay. Love you, brother. Everyone, we have to continue to do what we're supposed to do. That's right, Brother Larry. Brother Hamza, we have to follow Allah and His deen. I agree. But in the same, we all need to be reaching out to one another in this time. In this time. It's time to see the joy of what submitting to do our will to Allah looks like. It's a time for us to begin to show the world what the joy of just submitting to do the will of God look like. Because today we are being bombarded of what the servant of Satan looked like, or what the serving of Satan looked like. There are many things going on in our world that are causing distractions in how we do what we do. But if we can get back on point, if we can only get back on point on following what is righteous, then we'll find ourselves in a better place. So a question to you, what is it that you're doing? Share with us what you're doing to unify the human family righteously. I'm not just going to say, use the term of Muslims. What are you doing to unify the creation of God together as an individual? Perhaps we need to start talking about those things. Let's look to God. Let's look to His prophets and see what is it we are supposed to be doing. Reach out to someone. Right now, you're in your home with your families, and I understand that. Well, reach out to them. This will increase you in your faith. We are taught that at times our faith are high and sometimes it's at low. But then when it's at low, we need to look to those who are able to give us some encouragement to reach up with our faith. How you doing, niece? I love you more than you know. We need to look into ourselves to find out what it is about us that we can do for people that will give them something of relief in their way of thinking, in their way of operating. We need to reach out and find out what's going on. What's going on with our society? What's going on with our lives? We have to understand that everything in our world is not bad. In the center of our world is a great thing. In the center of our world is a great thing. You and I are one. Your issues become mine when we love one another. Your stress becomes mine when we are taught that if I have a bowl of soup and there's someone who's hungry and have nothing, then half that bowl of soup belongs to that individual. That in itself is called charity. It's called sadaqah for the believers, for the Muslims in Arabic. How do we get back to that? How do we get back to when we see someone struggling outside of our circles that we reach out and help them? When do we do that again? When do we become concerned? How you doing, love? When do we become concerned about about the next person? When do we see each other as love and not hate? When do we see each other as love and not insult? When do we see each other as not love and not enemies? What do you have for me to be an enemy of you? We're all in this struggle together. We're all in this struggle together. So now it's time for us to find within our pure hearts to reach out to someone and just say this to them. I know perhaps I haven't said it before, or perhaps it's been a long time since I've said it, but I love you and God loves you too. And let's build on that. And let's build on that. No more segregation and separating and staring down and looking at one as though there's something worse. No one, not one of us is worse than the next. We're all a human family. If one of us is bad, then that's a bad light on all of us. If one of us are in the wrong, that's a bad light on all of us. It's not to say that you're bad. It's to say that we're not doing our duties with reminding individuals about what is right. I love you too. We're not doing those things. And if we are in the minority. Now we have to use our righteousness as that shield of light, that nur that God gave us to outshine those who are in the majority who are not doing it. But you got to come from the heart. You have to come from the heart. You have to be doing it genuinely. You know, there's a thing about a lot of people that comes from the system. We build in our hearts a genuine love where we want to come out and run, just doing what we can to help and assist all that we can. But when we get out, the acceptance of our assistance seems to fall on deaf ears. And then we find ourselves lessening our ability to do what it is that we need to do to assist people, because it appears that the people don't even want to receive what we have. You're right. It was just wrote by Brother Muhammad that conditions of a people will not change until they change what is within them. It was in themselves. That is Quran. You're right, brother. That's right. For us to change, we must change what is within ourselves. There's a lot we go through. There's a lot you're going through. I agree. There's a lot I'm going through. One of the reasons why I'm doing what it is I'm doing now. Because in order for me to get relief in what's going on in my life, I need to talk to someone. But if I'm going to speak with you, I'm going to speak with you in a way about coming out of what I'm in to lead to success. I don't want to sit here and talk to you about how you can stay where you at or romance with the past, because all that is done. We got to look for what do tomorrow have to hold for us. What does the next second has to hold for us? And I'm using the term us because it takes us to make a change. It takes us to make a change. I'm sitting here with my beloved wife and my beloved daughter. I speak of these things with them constantly. Why? Because a difference is going to be made, then they got to start with somebody, and the cycle has to be broken. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I'm all that. I'm not. I'm a servant of God, and I'm just trying to do what I'm supposed to do on the outside of him that would make him pleased with me. And all I'm asking is that we have served a lot of things. We've served friends. We've served families. We've served relationships. Hell, we've served Satan. We've served everything under the sun. But we've not taken the opportunity to give servitude to the one individual who needs it, and who needs it, but who is worthy of it, and that is the Creator. At what time are we going to say, enough is enough? It's time for me to do something different. Try something different. Do what you never did to get what you never got. It's hard. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's not hard. It is hard. It is a struggle. But one thing I know, a person that continues to move forward, learn from his disappointments, have great success in the end. Have great success in the end. I pray for your success. No failure, only successes. Your success is important to me. Why? Because if you succeed, then I can succeed. The holdback is when you're trying to do it alone. The struggle becomes even more harder. Everyone has a vision. Everyone has a desire to do something, to become good at something, to become great at something. I'm asking you, whatever it is, don't stop doing it. Put more effort into it. And those things around you that become negativity, allow them to be motivations to even do better. You can do what you put out to do. You can do what you set out to do. With you, with your family, with your community, and abroad. All you have to do is just do it. Stand on it. It's times when I feel like, man, I can't take it. I can't do it no more. But I'm reminded of something. That I say God is greatest every day throughout the day. How is it that I can say He is the greatest and then tell myself that there's a thing in which I cannot do? All things can be done by His will. All you have to do is put forth the effort. Show your devotion. But first and foremost, allow what you do not to be for you. Not to be for you. Allow what you do to be solely for the sake of your Creator, and you can't fail. Even if disappointment comes, it will not push you to the brink of failing, depression, exerting stress. Why? Because you know that all things are only done by the grace of God. His decree is what is most important. Today, my rent and I can't pay it. My car note and I can't pay it. The conditions I'm in right now is bad. I feel like I'm falling in a hole. I'm stressed out. I'm depressed. Well, these are things that you're saying to yourself today. This is something that helped me because I found myself in that same situation, in my basement, in the dark, for hours, depressed on how was I going to make it here? What do I need to do to move forward? Because it seems like everything is going down spiral. How do I do this? This is new to me. So what I had to do is go back and think of why these things are. See, we have the capacity to do something because God gave us that. Because God gave us that. We have the capacity.